In fact, this recording of Ignaz Paderewski playing a Liszt Hungarian Rhapsody has been recorded beginning of the 20th century. And the device there was used was a The-welte-mignon recording device. You see here, it was kind of a piano where you recorded on piano rolls. And the device, the original recording device, is lost. Reproducing devices are available, but the point is the piano rolls are also available, and there are many piano rolls available. And there comes into play the Stanford University. The Stanford University has recently, 5 years ago, had a project where they took The-welte-mignon rolls and digitized them. They converted them into regular MIDI-files, and they were so generous to make all of those MIDI-files available. And here you see those MIDI-files converted into MP3s ready for listening. But what we want to do is, as you have seen, there are more than 400 rolls, and all of those MIDI files have been made available. So we want to take all of those files and then convert them to MP3s using a modern piano instrument. What we will use, or I am using, is pianoteq 8, which is a digital instrument, a physical modeling instrument, a MIDI instrument where you can play MIDI and you get a great Steinway sound or whatever you want. It's commercial, you have to pay for it. I have the stage version, which cost me about 100 euro, and it's really great, it's worth every euro. Now, where do we get the piano rolls? The Stanford University has made all the piano rolls available for download in their GitHub page. You see there is a GitHub page, Welte-red, where you have all the MIDI files. But as you see, the MIDI files have some cryptic file name, and so there is no clue who was the composer, what piece are we talking about, and so on. Fortunately, they also provided the metadata. The metadata was provided in XML files. So you have there XML files, they call it mark XML, and those mark XML files contain the metadata. The metadata is a little bit hard to read. You see here, for example, that there's a composer, it's Chopin, and the data fields are identified by the tag, by the code. Then we have the piece which is currently being playing or is part of this recording. Also tag 245, code A. Then we need the performer, and the performer is Teresa Carreño. And where is the performer? Here, Carreño Teresa, died in 1970, more than 100 years ago. And okay, so we have the files with the metadata, we have the MIDIs, and we want to get from this information MP3 files with a reasonable file name and containing all the metadata. And more than that, we want to do this automatically for all of the 400 files and piano rolls which Stanford University made available. And this is what I've done with my project, which I call the The-welte-mignon-project. I have made everything, the documentation available on GitHub. Here you see it's into the bridge, the The-welte-mignon-project, and I describe the prerequisites, the step-by-step, how I did it, and the mapping of the ID3 attributes and how to do it. So let's have a look at that. What you need is a Linux shell, a version of pianoteq installed, 10 gigs of disk space, and some further tools, Linux tools, which I will describe later on that. First of all, you have to download the full dataset, SUPRA dataset from GitHub. From the Stanford University site, you can download all of the metadata files and the MIDI files in a single file. You go to code, download zip, and then take some seconds, and you have the full download file available. Here it is, 32 megabyte of data. Next step after downloading the data is use or prepare a working directory. I use one single working folder where I copy all MIDI, all XML files to the folder. And as these are organized into subfolders, I simply did a search on the MIDI extension or the XML extension to get all the files and move them from the subdirectories into a flat single working directory. Gives you a total of 400 XML files and same number of MIDI files. What do you further need? You need a tool for parsing the XML files. I use xidle, and xidle is open source, and it's a single binary which you can download from this site here, given in my GitHub repository. You need lame, which is an MP3 encoder, because pianoteq doesn't provide MP3 encoder, at least on Linux, and relies on MP3 encoder being available on your system. As pianoteq doesn't look in the paths on your system for the MP3 encoder lame, I simply copied the lame executable to the working dir. You need the pianoteq executable. Also, this I did simply by adding a symlink to pianoteq into a path directory. You can also add this to the working directory. And then the point comes which pianoteq preset you want to use. Just to explain this, pianoteq allows different instrument presets where you have the mix settings different, the microphone settings different, the dynamics different, the instrument different. You can also set a velocity calibration, and you can set effects like a reverb or whatever you want. Another point we need is an ID3 tag processor for setting the MP3 metadata then. And on Linux, you just say apropos ID3 on the command line, and Linux informs you what is available on your system or what is suggested. And the MID3 is already available on my system, so I'm using that. Here's something I did for you. You don't have to care about that, but just if you're interested, you find here the meaning of the ID3 tags and where I get them from the XML data field. So there's XML data field tag, subfield code, and for example, I take data field 245, subfield A, to get the title of the piece, and 511A yields the artist, and so on. Another point is the file name composition. We want usable, good readable file names, and therefore I decided to compose the file names using the following sequence: composer, oeuvre, artist, release, year, and the extension MP3. Just to give you a short look at how it will look like that. We have the composer, we have the title, we have the artist, piano, of course, piano, what else? And we have the year of recording. So this is really amazing how this looks like. You have all these pieces here, and you can listen to them, you can sort them by composer, you can search for that, and it's really great to use like that. And furthermore, these are the file names. The the metadata is also set. Also, what next? In your Linux shell, and this is a crucial part, and this is basically my work, I contributed to this project, you have to run a shell script. This is a single bash file you copy to your working directory from this GitHub, and this does all the work. Let's have a look at it. We go to this here, and then you see it. I'll make it a little bit, enlarge it. Okay. Let's have a look at the shell, which does all the work. Okay, we have the preconditions, we have MP3 encoder, we have xidel available, we have pianoteq available, and we have all files flat in our directory. I'm using here associative arrays within the bash. It's possible. This means you have enumeration as index. And here you see I have set the subfield and the data field tags to select the song, artist, composer. So this basically is an index array, and this is the array where the metadata will be stored. Then this simply goes over all XML files, also selects the MIDI file, and here does the parsing using the XPath conditions here. The XPath selector uses xidel for getting the information, and then does a little bit of formatting of the metadata. And here's the core piece. It sets the MIDI file. It starts pianoteq headless using the preset I've defined, and does the conversion. The file name is composed like this, and if you want any other order of information, you simply can change this line, and it produces whatever you want. Here the ID3 tags are set, the information is set, and that's it. Here are some functions we need, the logging function, a formatting function, and this is main. Just to make a disclaimer, I've made this not for robustness. There is no check if any operation fails, no verify if the files exist or not, no check if files are overwritten. It's simply linear code, but the output is exactly what we want. 400 MP3s with historic recordings played on a modern pianoteq Steinway provided by pianoteq. Enjoy, and thanks for watching.